The Dodgers add yet another reliever, but this might not be the luxury item that we've been led to believe. What is likely the priority for USC football's new general manager? And Cameron Brink took over an hour blathering before she admitted she doesn't feel like she can play for the Sparks yet. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. It is January 29th, 2025. Welcome back. No music today. We had technical difficulties, but it's still a great day to talk sports. We got a lot to get through. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. Before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Philadelphia 118, Lakers 104. LeBron James scored 31 points. Anthony Davis strained an abdominal muscle and was pulled from the game after scoring just 4 points in 10 minutes. There is no timetable yet as to his return. By the way, we were also talking just yesterday about what happens to the Lakers lineup when Rui Hachimura is healthy enough to play. Well, he starts, and Dorian Finney-Smith went back to the bench. Meanwhile, today, the Clippers are at San Antonio at 5, and the Kings are at Florida at 4. Anybody remember what cost Todd McClellan his job coaching the Kings last year? Because if my memory serves, it was a terrible start to 2024. Hey, check this out. The Kings have just 3 wins in their last 9 games. So there's that. Let's get to the news. Reliever Kirby Yates is joining the Dodgers for 1 year, a $13 million deal. It's the second major addition to the bullpen this year, which at first glance appears to be just overflowing with talent. My goodness, we could just float on a sea of arms. There's so many arms in the bullpen. Of course, you can only have so many. Somebody's got to go. Now, Alex Vesia, who was terrific last year, is the only reliever with a minor league option left. So would you get rid of him? Well, what if I told you they didn't have to? Because I think there's bad news on the horizon. Look, not a doctor, never met Michael Kopech, so I hate to forecast this, but there is a distinct possibility that Kirby Yates is going to be subbing in. Kopech recently complained of forearm tightness. And we've seen this movie before. We've seen it. A lot of times, Dodger pitchers complain of forearm tightness, and it turns out to be the ulnar collateral ligament, which is a ligament that extends from the elbow up to the wrist along the ulnar. Yeah, you know what that means? Here comes the plot twist. Forearm tightness is a symptom for the ulnar collateral ligament going snap, which means Tommy John surgery. Now, I'm not saying I know for a fact it's going to be Tommy John surgery for Michael Kopech, but something tells me we're going to be in for news that's really going to suck. But having said that, if Yates is in fact subbing in for Kopech and the Dodgers keep rolling, here's something rich. Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner is acting small market now because of what the Dodgers have done. Quote, "It's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kind of things that they're doing," he said. He said it on a network that he owns. So well done. What a convincing case you're putting up with there. Let me repeat that. He went on a TV network that he owns, dedicated exclusively to Yankees programming, a club that is valued at $7.5 billion, and he's acting like it's a mom and pop business that can't open its doors during COVID. Oh, we don't have the money. You have $7.5 billion, bruh. The Yankees, acting like they're the Chicago White Sox, acting like they're the Miami Marlins. The team that was the very first big spending franchise, the first major market big spenders in Major League history. Does anybody remember the movie Moneyball? Right? Oh, Moneyball was all about the Yankees gutting the Oakland A's. They took Jason Giambi. That's not the first time, guys. Anybody ever hear of, I don't know, Reggie Jackson? Catfish Hunter? Hell, the Yankees were so ruthless back then, they took elite talent away from the Dodgers. Tommy John was an ace. Dave Winfield was the only guy not named Tony Gwynn that anybody in Slime Diego had ever heard of. The Yankees took him away too. How much money would those guys have commanded? How much money would they have commanded if they had been in their physical prime now? But Hal Steinbrenner acts like, we can't afford anybody. George Steinbrenner right now is rolling over in his grave, ashamed of his own son. And yes, inject that into my veins, please. So now that USC has a new general manager for the football program in Chad Bowden, what's he facing? Well, The Athletic looked at USC's depth chart for pre-spring ball, and they deduced that Bowden, who came from Notre Dame, needs to start with something that the Fighting Irish excel at: the trenches. The offensive line hasn't been a strength for the Trojans in a decade, and it isn't now either. They have to replace 3 starters on that line. And by the way, right tackle is particularly shaky. Meanwhile, you look at the other side, there are no sure things on the defensive line. The only thing that's certain is they've gotten bigger, but there's no pass rusher. Matter of fact, you could even say the Trojans have less of a pass rush now than they did last year. And that's not all. If new linebackers coach Rob Ryan really wants to revitalize his career after ruining no fewer than 4 NFL defenses as a coordinator, he's going to have to make something out of Eric Gentry and a whole lot of Meanwhile, on offense, a backup quarterback for Jaden Mayava might be a very good idea. Running back, receiver, and tight end is actually surprisingly healthy. So, as you might imagine, with a Lincoln Riley coach team, all the offensive skill in the world, and a whole lot of question marks. By the way, the Trojans also hired Trevon Reed from Central Florida as a cornerbacks coach. When you finish buck naked last, even in the WNBA, there is no one-step solution. It's all hands on deck time. If you are the absolute worst, it's not just one thing. For example, the coach of that team should get fired. The Sparks did that. Maybe even you overpay for a franchise-changing talent. Sparks did that too this week. You know what they also need? They need Cameron Brink, last year's number 2 overall pick, back on the court. Well, you just can't have it all, right? Cameron Brink, supposed to be the leader of the Sparks Renaissance. Instead, her knee collapsed like the Tropicana Hotel out in Vegas, and with all that time to kill, she spent the rest of the year seeking the attention of any simp with a camera. And this matters a lot. Not just because the Sparks need her, but because what matters, what makes Cameron Brink stand out from all these other thirst trap chicks out there is that she can play basketball. Allegedly. If Cameron Brink didn't play basketball, if she wasn't drafted immediately after Caitlin Clark, She would literally just be another in a legion of tall blondes across Southern California, desperately hoping that they're just one Instagram like away from a modeling career. So, how close is she to coming back? How close is she to showing us that she's different from all these other girls with just hoping to get that modeling career? This is what she said, quote, "I just don't feel ready yet." I was watching a sports documentary recently, and it was an injured athlete who was just so desperate to get back while injured, and I'm kind of not like that, in a sense. I'm afraid to get hurt again. I'm just trying to take as much time as possible just to feel fully ready, unquote. In other words, she doesn't feel like she wants to come back right now. That's not good enough. It's not even close to good enough. For the following reasons, among others. One, you said this on your own podcast, which was another attempt to bring the attention on you. Your podcast on your life. And by the way, you said that at the hour 2-minute mark. You spent 62 full minutes yammering about whatever else is going on except the most relevant thing in your life. Have you ever been on a bad date where the girl just won't stop talking for hours and then she finally tells you, "Hey, I just like you as a friend. Could I just call you and just talk like this for hours at a time?" That is her podcast. That is Cameron Brink. The Sparks need more than Kelsey Plum. They need more than Rakea Jackson. They need more than a new coach. They need Cameron Brink. They don't need photos of your abs, your legs, playing with your hair, your fit. They need you to act like a professional athlete. Now, understand, we all agree it takes time to recover from an ACL rupture and surgery. It can be over a year. By the way, if it is a year, that was only 15 games into your pro career. You're already falling behind everybody else. Because let me tell you something, there is another former Sparks center who is out of the NBA. You know what she's doing now? OnlyFans. You're staring at your future in OnlyFans if you don't get to rehab. Time's a wasting. Somewhere at the end of the Clippers bench, like the catacombs of Necropolis, sits PJ Tucker. The Clippers picked up a very useful veteran as part of the James Harden deal with Philadelphia last year, and they subsequently buried him. Never to be seen again. The guy wants to play. Why he's not, you'd have to ask Ty Lue. I don't have the answer. And I don't think he needs a ton of minutes. The guy is going to turn 40 after all in a couple of months. The Clippers would love to deal him. The problem is this. Tucker's been a successful player. He has a successful player's contract. $11 million. Now, according to The Athletic, the Clippers are now willing to add something in addition to Tucker in order to get a potential suitor to get that contract off their hands. So writes the scribe, quote, "Tucker has played his last game in a Clippers uniform, and an asset would need to be attached to include him in any trade. If Tucker is not traded, then expect him to seek a team that would be interested on the buyout market following the deadline," unquote. Tampa Bay has announced it has completed interviews with Rams tight ends coach and pass game coordinator Nick Caley, as well as quarterbacks coach Doug Ragone for its offensive coordinator position. Caley is a bit of a commodity. He's considered a front runner to serve as the Jets offensive coordinator as well. Ragone served as Atlanta's offensive coordinator for about 3 years. And this is kind of ironic because their last offensive coordinator was Liam Cohen, who was the Rams OC for 1 year. Former UCLA linebacker Carson Schwessinger, who went from a walk-on to leading the Big Ten in tackles, will not play in the Senior Bowl despite having accepted an invitation. No reason was given as of yet, but honestly, I think you could figure it out. He probably got some inside dope on where he is in the draft class. So why risk it? I've looked at some mock drafts and some player rankings, some big boards. Schlesinger is considered a top 5 linebacker. He could go in the second round. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about the state of the Dodgers bullpen, and if actually that means that Kirby Yates is going to wind up replacing Michael Kopech. For that matter, if you're a USC fan, what do you want the new GM to address? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortiel Queso production. Take care.